This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Light that shines is the light of love, hides the darkness from above. Shines on me and shines on you, shows you what the power of love can do. Shines my light both bright and clear, shines my light both far and near. In every dark corner that I find, wanna let my little light shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Light tries to find your colors too. Pink, orange, red, yellow, and blue. With those colors, choose your way. Listen to your heart and what it says. Make school a temple of learning light. The power of the people starting how they fight. A world of goodness will ignite. Let heart just find our light. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine.
This is the woman behind the success of these underprivileged little kids who were not able to go to school to pursue their dreams. Yes, this is Shaheen Mistri, the CEO of the Teach for India, a nationwide mission to build a movement of leaders who will eliminate inequity in education. Shaheen is also the founder of the Akanksha Foundation, a non-profit organization with a mission to improve the lives of low-income children, enabling them to maximize their potential and transform their lives. Shaheen Mistri was born in Mumbai, India. She had an international upbringing and grew up in various countries, including Lebanon, Greece, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, and the United States, as she moved countries with her father, a senior banker with Citigroup. After attending boarding school in Connecticut, she moved to India for higher education. She graduated with a degree in sociology from St. Xavier's College, University of Mumbai, and later obtained a master's in education from the University of Manchester. She started the Akanksha Foundation in 1991, and now she is the CEO of Teach for India since 2008. We have got an opportunity to talk to Shaheen Mistri. Let's watch that interview and find out more about this social activist and educator.
Yeah, we are the students and teachers of Government Model Higher Secondary School, Perindalmanna, in a district called Malappuram in Kerala. So a lot of prominent Keralites have studied in our school, and now it has emerged to be fully high-tech. I am Lakshmi, and these are my friends, Tanha. I'm sorry?
No, I was saying that's fantastic. Great to hear
Thank
that.
you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. So I'm Lakshmi, and these are my friends, Tanha and Rahul. We are accompanied by our teachers, Prashant sir, Bijesh sir, Pabida miss, and Pasina miss. Now, we, the English club members of our school, has decided to conduct this interview as a part of a documentary that we are making based on a lesson named DIDI, which is an excerpt from your story, Redrawing India. So I'd like to inform you that we are very grateful to have you, and we are very grateful for you to giving us this opportunity to learn more about you and your works. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. It's a big honor for me to talk to all of you. And the people who know me well will tell you that my favorite people in the world are students and teachers. So
Thank you.
I'm very, very happy to meet all of you and to have this opportunity to talk to you.
Thank
Okay, ma'am.
you.
Can I call you Didi or?
Yes, please call me Didi, not ma'am. Yeah, much better.
Okay. Okay, Didi. Okay, my first question is, since you formed Aganksha Foundation at a quite young age, didn't you face any practical issues?
Yeah. How old are you, Tana?
I'm just 18.
You're 18. So that's exactly the age when I started Akanksha as well. I was 18, which is why I was asking you your age. But yes, there were many problems. When you do anything, there are many problems. I'm sure all of you can relate to that as well. Each one of you must have so many problems and so many challenges. But when you believe a lot in something, I think you find a way. You take small steps and you keep telling yourself, it's okay. If I don't know exactly what to do, let me take one step. Let me ask people around me for help. And you find a way. So some of the problems when I started in the beginning was my own learning, because I was never trained as a teacher. I'm sure many of you on this call are very qualified teachers who've trained a lot. I had never trained before, so I had to learn how to teach. That was a big challenge. I also had to adjust to India because for 18 years I had lived outside of India. So I didn't speak any Indian language. I didn't know so much about Indian culture. I didn't know a lot about my own country. So I had to learn a lot myself. And then there were all the other problems of starting an organization. Where do you get the money from? Will people join you? Will people like the idea? So there were a lot of those challenges. But I think the thing that I really believed in when I was 18, and the thing I believe in many years later now also, is children. I believe a lot in the potential of children and what they can do. And so through all the challenges, that is what I kept in mind the most.
That's
That's
so
a
inspiring. That's so inspiring.
Ma'am, as you once said, the major resource of the Aganksha project were the children. Was it hard to make the children join your class? Did the parents support you?
Yeah. You know, children are always willing. Children always say yes, much faster than adults say yes. So I think the parents in the beginning were quite nervous. A lot of people had come to that community and made a lot of promises to the people and not followed up on those promises. So when they saw me, they thought, I'm so young and I couldn't speak the same language as them. So there was a lot of questions like, why does she want to do this kind of questions? But I think they saw a lot of love that I showed to the kids, and they could see that relationship, that it really mattered to me, not just relationship with the children, but with people in the community itself. So I would spend hours every day from college. I would go directly to the community and spend hours in the community, just sitting with the people, talking to the people, celebrating festivals with people. And I think slowly, because of the relationships, that trust got built. Children were very excited to come. I think for children, it was just a chance to leave the house, to come. We tried to make the learning really fun. So that was one thing. Again, I believed when I was 18, I believe today even more strongly that learning has to be fun, it has to be engaging, it has to be real. um, you know, you can read a textbook chapter, But what you all are doing right now, this is real world learning, right? Really interacting with each other, talking to each other. That is what learning can actually be. So children were very excited to come. Parents took a little bit of time to build the trust.
That's wonderful, ma'am.
So we know that you had a lot of difficulties and you overcame them, and you went on and became successful. So was there any particular reason that led you on?
Sorry, can you repeat the last part, Lakshmi?
Were there any particular reason that led you on to be successful?
I think, when people ask me that question, I say the biggest achievement is that I didn't give up. Biggest achievement is I just kept saying, okay, maybe I'll make 100 mistakes. Sometimes people will support me, sometimes people will not support me. But I will keep going. And I think this is the most important thing about any dream that you have is just saying, no matter what, I will not give up. So I think that mindset is one. Um, I think the other thing that has helped me is really always having incredible people around me. Like you are talking to me right now, but actually, the success is not me. The success has been hundreds and thousands of people that have worked in classrooms, in communities, in offices to make this work possible. And so, always really believing in the people around you, working with people around you, asking so many times, I don't know what to do, but I never worry too much about it because I always know there are 10 people I can go who are smarter than me, who will have the answer around me. So I think that is a big part of it.
Thank you.
Okay, okay, Didi, you described Indian education system as bookish. So, the changes that you would like to see in the system?
Thanda, the biggest change I want to see in the system is I want teachers to think that students are not there just to be educated. Students are partners. Really, that students are partners at every level of the system. You are in Kerala. Imagine if the Kerala government called students in and asked students, what do you want to learn? Why do you want to learn? How do you want to learn? Imagine if teachers said, come, students, and plan lessons alongside me. Come and teach alongside me. Teach each other based on your strengths. Imagine if schools, when they had problems, didn't feel overwhelmed like headmaster, principal feels, I'm so overwhelmed. There's so many problems in my school. Instead of that, if they took it to students and they said, can we work together? If in communities we stood up with our parents and said, can we solve community problems together? So I think the biggest change needs to be that students have to be at the table, exactly like this call. This is the most beautiful video call because there are half students and half educators together, learning together, asking together, listening together. I think this is what will change the education system. And I think the other thing is that education has to be meaningful, it has to be real. We should be learning, we should be trying to solve the real problems of the world and learning our academic subjects, our values through that. Then it becomes interesting and relevant.
Yeah, I also agree, you, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. You came into this field witnessing the inequity in the educational sector, but it is still there. What can we do about it?
I think that's the most important question, Rahul. My hope is that students stand up and do something about it. That is my hope. And not huge things, small things. When I started, I started with 15 students. I said, let me just teach 15 students. Whatever I know doesn't have to be a lot. But how can students stand up no matter what and really change the country in whatever way your heart tells you to. Today, we have a climate problem, we have a gender problem, we have an education problem, we have a health crisis. What are ways in which each one of us can stand up and bring about change in our own schools, in our own communities? I think the amount that we will learn, the amount we will learn about leadership will completely change if we are focused on what can we do.
Okay, ma'am. How do you define education? What is education according to you, and what do you want your students to achieve through the education that you get?
You know, at Teach for India, um, we are dreaming about a world where there is no poverty at all, and a world that is filled with love. And for me, an education needs to lead to these two things. It needs to give you a job and a livelihood of your choice so that nobody in the country is hungry, doesn't have a home, can't afford basic health care. So that is the poverty side. But it also needs to lead to a world filled with love. Why do I use the word love? Because I believe that if we love ourselves, if we love each other, if we love our country, if we love our work, then we will do everything needed if we really love, right?
Yes.
And love, because the world today, there are too many people that don't get along with each other, that are not able to see beyond their differences. Can we change that? Can we say it doesn't matter? You may be dark skinned, light skinned, woman, male. You may be, rich, poor. It doesn't matter. Everybody has things to contribute. Everybody deserves respect. Everybody deserves equality. I think a lot about the constitution of our country, and I think, how can schools prepare us for that? To really understand as students, when we say liberty, what do we mean? When we say equality, when we say justice, when we say fraternity, do we understand these big words? And can we live these big words? To me, that is an excellent education.
Didi, in this current unexpected scenario of the pandemic affecting the education children all over the world, how do Aganksha Foundation and Teach for India function?
Such a good question. It's been very, very difficult because when the pandemic hit, firstly, a lot of our children didn't have food to eat. So we had to, both organizations had to become relief organizations. We had to get rations to our children. And that was a big, big new area of work for us. The second big area of work was devices, because most of our children didn't have access to a smartphone, a laptop, a tablet, any kind of device. So we did a major fundraising drive to say, let's make sure that learning doesn't stop for our children. And still today, because of the pandemic, only 50% of our children are learning. So we have a long way to go to make sure that all of our children are still learning. So the real need with the pandemic has been, how do we access our children? If schools are shut, how do we keep them learning? And that is what we are very focused on right now.
Okay, ma'am. Can you remember any of your underprivileged kids you have taught who have reached unexpected heights after benefiting from your works?
Yeah, there are so many examples. But the one that's coming to mind right now is a student of ours called Seema. And Seema was from a low income community. In fact, both her elder brothers had dropped out of school. And she was the first girl in her family from single mother, who graduated from school, went on to college, graduated from college, then got into an MBA program, also got into the Teach for India fellowship. This was the second year after we started Teach for India. So she was very torn. Should I do the Teach for India fellowship or should I do the MBA program? And she chose the Teach for India fellowship because she said, the most important thing in my life was my teacher. And I want to be that for other children. So, teachers on this call, I always say the most important work in the world is to be a great teacher, because what you leave in the hearts and minds of children, nothing else can do that. So she became a teacher. She had her own students. Then she became a school leader. After that, she started working with the Maharashtra government. And now she's managing community service program at a high income school, because now she's saying, how do I take children who have a lot of privilege and really inculcate the values in them to give back to society? So she's had a beautiful journey from where she started.
That's
Okay.
great. And we are sure there are a lot of other people like her too. So there are a lot of students like us who are inspired by your works, and we'd like to follow your footsteps. So what do you think we should do?
Lakshmi, my dream is that students like you join the Teach for India Fellowship, spend 2 years on the ground teaching children, really giving back what you have been given by your teachers and by the opportunities that you've had. And after 2 years, you go on to do anything in the world. It doesn't matter, but always give back, however much you can. That is my dream for all of you, in whatever way you can. And I think you'll realize that really all of the great religious leaders, spiritual leaders of all different faiths have said the same thing ultimately, that the real happiness and joy and peace comes from giving back. And so, how can you do that as much as you possibly can? And you're lucky to live in a state that invests so much in education and so much in its people. It's so beautiful to see what Kerala has done. And so, you've received so much. How do you give it back to the parts of the country that need it the most?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. How do you recruit faculties for Teach for India?
Yeah. So for the fellowship, we actually go to colleges around the country. We go to big organizations and corporates and we spread the word. We do a lot on social media as well. And for our staff as well, we advertise positions, and then we do very targeted recruitment depending on what the particular position is.
Okay, Didi. Didi, next question will be a bit philosophical. People have different definitions of life. How do you define life?
How do I define life?
Yes.
Such a beautiful question. I don't think, Rahul, anyone has ever asked me this question before. So thank you. Thank you for this question. I'm sure after this call, I'm going to think a lot about all the things I didn't say and that I remember later. But I think for me, life is nothing more than moments that matter, like tiny, tiny moments, For me, this is one of those moments, this opportunity to talk to all of you. I will keep it in my heart. So, what are all those little moments that we spend, moments that bring us joy, moments that challenge us to be our best, moments when we want to give up, but we don't give up? If we can add up all of those moments, the moments you really want to remember, to me, that is life. And a lot of those moments for me are not just about my own happiness, my own potential, my own learning, but really asking myself, what can I do to, one of my mentors says this so beautifully. He says, how can you be a ladder for the people around you? And really feel proud, not when you are at the top of the ladder, but when you see other people climbing up the ladder in front of you. Can you hold the ladder for other people and really be the ladder that they climb on? So for me, life is also about that. It's about saying, what can we all do to really unleash the potential of others, to give others the opportunity that they need to shine their brightest and to be their best.
Wow, that is
Wonderful.
a wonderful definition. So, can we expect any new projects coming from you?
So the project, Lakshmi, that I'm most excited about and that I'm working on right now is a curriculum on democracy. So, when you asked about the definition of an excellent education, and I said an education that prepares you for liberty, equality, justice, fraternity, we are developing a curriculum now of lesson plans. And it's our big hope that schools will take this curriculum. It's right from grade 3 to grade 8. And everything is developed for the teacher. So the teacher can pick up lesson plans. And the idea is to say, if I'm in grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, how do I practice liberty? How do I practice equality? How do I start looking at the biases in myself, in my own life, in my own family, and face them and start to overcome them? So this is a project that I am very, very excited about, which will be our next big project. And my hope is that your school takes up the curriculum and is one of the first schools to use the curriculum as well.
We expect that as well.
Didi,
Sure.
do you have anything else to say to us,
Especially to our students.
our students?
I think, what I really want to say is just stay in touch. It'll be lovely. I want to know what all three of you end up doing with your lives, what your dreams are, where you end up going. It is my very big hope to see you at Teach for India one day, and really serving the nation in whatever way you want. And as I said, I hope that this can be the start of an ongoing relationship with your school, because I feel like there are so many thoughts that are common when you reached out on education, so many questions we can explore together. So I would love to have your school participate in some of the events that we do. We do a beautiful event every year called the Kids Education Revolution. We would love to have students participate in that, and in so many other ways. So my last words would just be stay in touch, keep in touch with us, with Teach for India, and really hope to see you mobilize a lot more young people to be change makers in the world.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
I have a question for you, ma'am. Can you discuss? See, you had an international upbringing. Our lesson Didi starts with your experiences when you are living in Indonesia. Can you briefly describe your unparalleled journey that started from the school days in Indonesia to that of starting Aganksha?
Sure. Thank you for that. So my journey started. I left India when I was a year old, and we moved to Lebanon, then to Greece, then to Indonesia, then to America. So I was in 10 different schools across 4 different mediums of instruction. So I think the best way to describe my journey was a lot of change. Every time I settled down, there was a change in my life. Another important thing about my childhood was I did a lot of volunteering from a very young age. From the age of 12, I started volunteering with children. I also did a lot of volunteering of animals, because that is my big love is animals. I've got 4 cats and 2 dogs, a new puppy also right now. So I have a lot of love for animals as well. And really the third thing I'll say is that India always held a very special place in my heart, even though I didn't grow up in India. I felt a very strong instinct to come back and do something in India with children. And that's really what brought me back when I was 18, because my family hadn't moved back to India, but I just decided to drop out of college. I was in a very good college at Tufts University in America. And I was about to enter my second year, but I said no. Something in my heart told me, stay in India, do something in India. And that was a very important decision. And that's when I was Tana's age. I was 18 when that happened. And that's what led to starting Akanksha.
Okay, ma'am. Actually, I'm very much overwhelmed by your responses, your universal concept of love. I know that this is going to change the life of my students. And my question is that have you been following the pattern of education system in Kerala? Do you have any comment about that?
I have not actually. I don't know too much about the Kerala education system, except for what is widely known that it is a very progressive education system, focuses a lot on new innovation, has a very, of course, high literacy rate in the state. So some of those pieces I'm aware of, but not a lot of the details. And sadly, there is not yet a Teach for India program in Kerala. Would be great if some of you could take that up and start that in Kerala.
We are expecting you here. One day we shall meet in person.
I hope so. I hope so.
Okay.
Vijay sir.
Ma'am, it's actually a privilege and honor to have you here. And I don't know what to talk to you. I'm extremely delighted to see you in person. I'm very much thankful to you. And nothing
Thank
to
you.
ask. They have asked everything. And
Thanks so much. And it's absolutely lovely to meet you and to meet your students. I mean, I always say that students are the true proof of how great a teacher is. And so you all must be so proud hearing your students on this call. They have so much confidence. They're so insightful. Just fabulous to meet the three of them.
Ma'am, I am Fasina. Actually, this is the question I want to ask you. How do you have seen various children from various parts of the world?
That I'm not a big believer, Fasina, in competition. I think we've made a big mistake in the country in comparing children all the time. To me, education is not about achievement. Education is about learning. Life later on is about achievement. So I would answer your question by saying that when a child can look back and say, I have learned more today than I was 3 months ago, 6 months ago for myself. I am closer to my own dreams for myself. I am a more kind, accepting human being. This is the measure of true education. And I think if we in our schools start changing what we measure, and we don't only measure marks and exams, but we measure all the different dimensions of a human being, then we will change how we teach and how we learn. That is really my dream for the Indian education system. You know, at the beginning of the year, can our schools be asking not just how many marks will our children get, but at the end of the year, will our children be more peaceful? Will our children be more loving? Will our children be more accepting of each other? Will our children be problem solvers for the world? If we can do that, I think it'll be a wonderful thing. I'll just quickly tell you at Teach for India, we have we call them the 8 C's. They are 8 characters. And we believe that if children develop these C's, they will be set up for success in the world. So the first C is compassion. Are kids able to really care for others? The next C is creativity. Are our children able to imagine a different world? Critical thinking. Are our children able to really think deeply for themselves, not what everybody else says, but for themselves? Collaboration. Are our children able to work with each other? Communication. Are they able to express themselves? Like how beautifully your students on this call are expressing themselves. Courage. Are they able to face their fears? And curiosity. Are they really interested in the world? Do they ask lots of questions? So we believe that these C's, if they are built through everything, that is really what will get our children to stand ahead and be prepared for life.
Rahul Babu, back to
So
you.
let's conclude this session. On behalf of Government Model Higher Secondary School, Perindalmanna, I would like to thank our DIDI, Shaheen Mistri, for giving us your precious time and sharing your experiences of the long journey in Akanksha Foundation and Teach for India. I would like to thank our teachers, Prashant sir, Vijay sir, Pebida miss, and Fasina miss for choosing us to be a part of this wonderful occasion. I would like to thank all others who worked behind this to make this occasion memorable. Once again, I thank one and all present here. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. Sending
Thank
you
you,
all
ma'am.
lots and lots of love, and I hope to be able to visit your school one day.
Definitely. It will be a
We are grateful.
unforgettable moment for us then.
Really.
Thank you. Have a lovely evening. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna